Hey, what's up guys, JJ here, and today on our channel we have Chris Honey Money, which by now you definitely know who he is. I've done some content with him on his channel, and he has been on my channel a couple of times as well. So Chris is obviously a, I would say expert lah in personal finance, and now that he has left his employment life and started his own company, he knows how to run his own company as well. So today, right, we want to answer a very burning question that a lot of people always ask me as a solopreneur and freelancer, which is why should you incorporate in Singapore, aka become a private limited company? Because the common argument is that
I private limited, I need to pay PopSec, I need to do AGM, it's like, oh, admin this, admin that. It's like, wow, so many things to do. Then after that, I need to submit my annual return. It's like
a lot of like, for lack of a better word, saikang lah, right? Whereas if you're a sole proprietor or LLP, it's very simple, right? Click, you're done. But why do people like you and many entrepreneurs I know go through the trouble of making it a private limited company?
Okay, I think maybe for the audience context, right? What is a sole proprietor versus a private limited? I think we need to distinguish this first. So sole proprietor, basically you are the business. Your name is the business. Or if you want to register a business under your name, is still you are one, right? You are inseparable. So the difference between a sole proprietor and a private limited is that private limited, the company is a separate individual or body of you, right? So the company can go bankrupt, but doesn't mean you go bankrupt. So that's the difference. So proprietor, you all are one, you are combined. Private limited, separate, right? Totally different legal entity. For context-wise, when I was doing my YouTube or content creation business as a side hustle, right? I eventually started a sole proprietor. I registered it under ACRA. Back then, the reason was really simple one. I wanted to get a corporate credit card. Or, corporate bank account and all that. And for a corporate card, you will need a business entity, right? Be a sole proprietor. That was back then. So then I had a business ready. I mean, under my name as a sole proprietor. Then slowly I realized the benefits of being a private limited. Then that's when I transitioned, or I set up a new company under a new name. Yeah, so that was the context that I have lah. If you want to know the history, basically I started sole proprietorship, but I didn't transfer that sole proprietorship to a private limited. I just set up a new company under private limited. So that was the context.
Also, it's a transition.
It's not even a transition. It's just a newborn baby out of me.
Right.
So now I hold two businesses. One is a sole proprietor.
You never closed the sole proprietor?
No, I did not. They say 1 year you pay like $130, then 3 years you pay $300+. Then I say, 3 years, good deal. Then I signed the 3 years already. Then I realized, I should just sign 1 year and see.
Right. So you will just let it lapse after the 3 years lah.
Yeah.
I see. Actually, now you're talking about sole proprietor versus private limited. So there's this in-between thing called the limited liability partnership. So you mentioned that sole proprietor, you're fully liable, whereas private limited, you're protected to a certain degree, right? How about limited liability partnership? Because it's limited liability mah?
If you study accounting before, you will know that most of your audit firms, they are run under LLP.
Law firm also.
Law firm.
Yeah.
For specific reasons that I also don't know why lah. But the fact is, I feel like LLP is like not here and not there lah. To me, as a small business owner, I feel that it's either you just do solo or you just run a private limited. LLP, you need to have partners, and partners can come together to jointly make a decision based on what I learned, what I remember. And to me, I mean, I'm just operating as a solo person. You want me to find a partner to make decision for my own content creation personal brand? It doesn't make sense at all. But for your business, it may make sense, especially in law and audit firms, right? Because you all have a few managing partners and all that. Yeah, but for myself, it's either sole proprietorship or private limited. There's no in between.
So as a private limited company, even though you're just one guy, you have to go and register for quite a lot of things, right? And you must have this thing called a corporate secretary, which you need to pay for.
Yeah.
So there are service providers nowadays that help you do all of these things. So did you do everything yourself, or you hire a service provider?
Yeah, I hired a service provider because I know very well that I don't want to handle all the corporate secretary stuff. I looked through the requirements before, and in fact, because I was trained in accounting, I know how tedious those things can get. So I think it's not expensive at all. You pay like $300+ for a corporate secretary. To register your company is another $300. So it's like $600 all in for your first year. You get a corporate secretary, you set up your business, you get like all the services for $600. To me, it's a one-time cost. And don't forget, if you're sole proprietor, every year you have to pay the licensing registration fee for your name. And that is annual recurring. But private limited is a one-time charge to set up your company. So if you look at the long term, private limited is more long-lasting.
Yeah. And do you do bookkeeping yourself?
I do because I'm trained in accounting. But for some of you, you all are not trained in accounting, please, at least for the first year, go and find an accountant. Maybe it could come in a package with your corporate secretary because they usually offer a package lah. Like they help you do your accounting. And if you all don't understand accounting don't try to do yourself because you do wrong that's it, IRAS is going to keep you on their watch list.
Yeah, correct. So actually I'm the same. I also hired a service provider to do it. I thought you would say you do it yourself, like, because you are very, very stringent on your spending and stuff. I thought you will do it yourself.
Yeah, I could do it myself because I know how tedious it is. So I choose not to do it myself.
And the price to pay is not that high, right, for the amount of work. Would you mind sharing the service provider you use?
Okay, so I'm using a provider called Awesome. So OSO.
Oh, different from me. Nice. I thought you would be the same. I use Slick.
Slick. Oh, I heard of Slick before.
Yeah, Slick is newer.
Okay, but usually the price is all around the same one. It's a very cutthroat industry. So usually about the same.
Yeah, actually Awesome and Slick, the color is same. It's like blue color one. Yeah. So you actually could add on services like bookkeeping, same right? Bookkeeping, even like accountant. Yeah. You could like add on all these things.
You could add on all these additional costs, but because I don't need I'm a trained accountant. I know what to do.
Nice.
I don't need to spend on accounting, but accounting fees actually could add up if your revenue is very high.
And I guess it really depends also. Actually, bookkeeping is not that difficult in a sense where even if you weren't trained in accounting, you can watch a few YouTube videos and it can be done, but it's tedious.
It is. Because once you stop doing your bookkeeping for a few days, maybe you go holiday, you forget, then your accounts keep coming in. I mean, you keep your income coming in, but you never record, Then your bank balance and your accounting balance different. That's when the mess come already. So you need to be very careful on bookkeeping stuff.
Yeah. So the thing about bookkeeping is, I think IRAS is generally quite lenient one. In Singapore, right, businesses rules are created such that businesses can thrive. So if you are a beginner and you make mistakes, right, IRAS will still come after you, but you will not be prosecuted per se. They will warn you first. And they will tell you, hey, you better go and do properly. Next year I come and check you again. But doesn't mean you can to siam the tax. You have to still pay back whatever you owe them. Because I'm surrounded by many people who run businesses. And inevitably, we are humans. There will be screw-ups one. So I have seen IRAS come after people before. So like for me, right, IRAS and ACRA has clarified certain things before because I forget to submit some stuff. But so they reminded me and then I submitted and it was all good. Yeah, correct. So quite lenient Don't need to worry too much.
And in fact, talking about the pro business part, I think the IRAS even give you like some, not say IRAS, but the government like offer you some resources, like they have some training providers or service providers that you can liaise with, and they provide like very competitive packages and with some of the banks as well. So it's like one all integrated accounting system linking to your bank, linking to your own accounting system and whatever But I didn't use but you all can go and check out.
Another thing that I want to ask you about, I think this one is similar for sole proprietor and private limited, is that do you use your own address or did you pay your corporate secretary to use an office address for privacy? Okay,
this one I can share very well because I also need to compare the cost. Some of you use your own home address, which I feel if you're using a private limited, it is very dangerous because people could just search up ACRA or in fact any other registry and they can find your home address. So please don't use your home address. In fact, if you get a virtual address, it's not expensive. It's like $100+ per year. And that's just a virtual address. But your residential address registered in the book of ACRA records also can be changed at a fee, one-time fee of $40. Because you don't just have a virtual address, you need to have your registered address also changed. Otherwise, people who pay the $5 on ACRA, they can find your home address as well. So that's something that I go and do more research that I found out. So 2 times, one time $100 for the virtual address. The other time is the registered residential address.
So you would recommend someone who is setting up a company to just go and pay for an address
Yes, because it is not expensive. Plus, it protects yourself against people who may want to do harm to you. You don't want your residential address exposed.
I think you are speaking from an influencer's point of view also because you are a public figure and you say things online that some people might, for whatever reason, be upset about. But I think for normal people, companies, right, I think it's not so bad. So I have a pro tip if you are watching this. Pro tip is that someone taught me this before. It is not foolproof, but you can name your company a different name from your brand.
Of course.
When you put yourself out there as a company, the branding is out there, but it's harder for people to search up the ACRA because they don't know your company name. Yeah.
And that's what a lot of businesses do. The product that they sell and the brand they use plus the company name is all different one.
Yeah.
So you can never know the real company name unless you are into something lah.
Yeah. Or unless they are your client. So I believe on the invoice you have to put your company name lah, right? So
for example, Hanbaobao Private Limited.
Correct. That was what I was gonna say. Yeah, correct. McDonald's. Yeah, correct. So if your client wants to come after you, yes lah, technically can lah, right? Technically can. But if you are a upright business, I mean, everything is can 商量 one lah. You can talk it out, right? But yeah, pay for address. I think that's very good. And I think another thing about private limited versus sole proprietor is the tax. I think this is why majority of us choose to register as a private limited, even though got a lot of saikang, and not a sole proprietor, because the tax savings, right, is actually quite significant.
It is.
Right? Can you share a bit more about that?
Okay, so for those of you who are not familiar with business tax, right, corporate tax. So for your first 3 years, do you know there's this thing called startup tax exemption, which means your first $100,000 is taxed at a very low rate. In fact, the effective rate on your first $100,000 for the first 3 years is 4.25%, which means you only pay $4,250 on $100,000 on profits, profits and not revenue, profits.
Wow. So how do you remember this by heart?
Yeah, because I know these numbers before I set up the company.
Right.
I was running through these numbers. Hey, it makes sense, huh? Your first 3 years, especially if some year you are in a boom, especially if you are sole proprietor and then you are thinking about transition. This year may be the year of high income. Then next year, if you don't do it, this $100,000 of profits is going to add into your annual income as a personal income, that individual income.
Yeah.
And do you know how much tax is that? That's going to add at least based on your income tax, 15-17%, $100,000. You go and do the math yourself lah.
Did you know that before 2019, right, for private limited, the tax exemption for the first 100K is 100%?
Yes, I know.
Right. So when they change to 75%, it's like, oh yeah. But it's still very high lah.
Still very high. It's still very high.
Yeah.
Singapore is really very pro-business. So if you're in the same kind of context, thinking whether you want to start private limited, maybe the time comes when your income for the year is going to exceed and break all your records. Then next year you need to start doing it already. Because once you miss this, maybe your next 3 years is very prosperous. But all this prosperous income add to your individual income, you will suffer the pain. You will know the pain.
Yeah lah. I mean, I do think that if you are making decent income, at least a couple of $1,000s a month from your company, just go and register already lah. Because not only the tax, but the liability ma.
Correct.
Yeah.
Which brings us to the liability part, right? Because as a content creator, especially talking about finance, liability is a very big thing. Anything you say wrong can be used against you. Especially you are going against big corporations who have their legal team, And maybe the music industry is even more because copyright infringement issues. So we try to be very careful in what we say, but there are times where we make a mistake. And if you are a sole proprietor, all this liability, legal liability is on you, right? Which means that whatever fees that come out, legal fees, you have to put your own pocket money in it if you were to be in a court case. And this is what separates a private limited liability versus a sole proprietor liability. So company liability is company pasar. Your own thing is your own pasar. So company could go bankrupt, but yourself, your own finances are not touched. So that's the beauty of having a separate legal.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think a lot of times as entrepreneurs, as you grow, inevitably, there will be people that you cross paths with that might not be very nice. They might be clients or audience that might want to do harm to you lah. So in order to protect personal assets that we have worked so hard to build, I think a private limited company is also still the best, safest option. And the price to pay is very low lah, considering
it's not as high as your thing because I did all the calculation already. Even before I quit my job, I do side-by-side comparison. And the thing about private limited company is that, yes, there are more administrative stuff, but look at the tax, right? If anything fails, just look at numbers. Numbers don't lie. The startup tax exemption is going to save you so much taxes that you won't mind paying for these additional corporate services. And the liability part, the benefits are measurable. If the court case comes, you really don't know how to handle one.
Yeah, and another thing that's got to do with taxes is also expense. Right, so as a sole proprietor, there's a lot of things that you are unable to expense as cost. But as a private limited, you can actually expense this to do tax reduction. So one very, very common example is your vehicle. If it's a personal private vehicle, you cannot expense the gas, you cannot expense your mileage and everything. But if you are buying a company vehicle with the G plate,
yes, no S plate, no S plate.
Yeah, if you have a private limited G plate, then expense.
Yeah.
Can expense. And gas and fuel is quite a, so if I were to buy a car again, I will definitely buy G-Plate lah, because, makes sense, right?
Yeah, because it could be used for logistics, ma. It could also be used for ferrying if you're in the transportation business. So it's very important to know what your business does and how you want to record all these expenses, because you don't want to record it wrongly. Okay, so make sure you have someone who is at least advising you on the right accounting practices, and especially don't buy S-plate car and then go and claim your tax. It's illegal. It's not even wrong, it's illegal.
Yeah. Actually, so proprietor, there are also rules lah, bookkeeping, all this still have to do one. Private limited is a little bit more, is a bit more, but in the long run, I think the important step is to just start.
Yeah.
And once you start, then you learn. And after a while, it just becomes like muscle memory. It's like your Excel sheet is there, and then your processes are there. Then it just becomes like butter already.
Yeah.
Right? And I think the biggest hurdle for people is I need to pay this, need to pay that, got a lot of things. But my personal journey is that once you start, then you might screw up a bit here and there, but then you will learn very fast one.
Yeah, especially for my first year, even though as a trained accountant, then I found my annual return, I also got problem because it's the first time business owner.
Right.
So you learn along the way lah. Don't expect everything to be perfect.
I do think like having an incorporated company, you got some perks one lah. Like I believe as a company, you get access to certain credit cards like I'm not a credit card expert, I go to his channel.
Amex High Flyer.
Amex High Flyer, 1.7
1.8.
1.8 mile per dollar.
Then you get a Call Plus membership with free one-night hotel stay.
Amex card, right?
Yeah.
Wow, a core membership. So the Accor membership is the one that comes with the Vantage one, right?
Sorry,
is it slightly
the
different?
Vantage come with the Accor Plus membership.
Oh.
So you stay one night at Accor Plus property. Not sponsored by Accor or Amex High Flyer.
Okay, all this is vanity perks lah. But you get access to 1.8 mile. 1.8.
It's a very useful card though.
Yeah. Anything else you want to share about like why someone should consider going for an incorporated private limited company instead of sole proprietor?
Because let's talk about something related to property.
Ooh.
Okay, and I think you know what I'm going to talk about. So because if you register under a sole proprietor, your income, as a self-employed, you're considered a self-employed, by the way. So it will take a 30% haircut if you want to qualify for property loans. But what if you have a private limited paying you a fixed salary? So essentially, you are an employee of your own business, and 100% of that will be recognized because you are, in the eyes of the law, you are just like any other employee, even though you are a one-person company, right? So that is something related to property. Especially if you are self-employed, you want to have that fixed income coming in. Banks love you. So, banks don't really love self-employed people.
Yes. No, very good.
JJ can add on.
But for your own company, do you pay yourself a salary?
I do.
Oh, I see.
Back then, I know I'm getting my keys in a few years' time. So I better get my fixed income after I quit my job, So HDBC, this person has stable salary. We can run him a good loan.
I think that's something that's very important because I run a few things lah. So some of my income is considered self-employed income. That one no choice one. I cannot register a company bo pian. So some of my income is considered private limited company income. Yeah, I think that's it. Oh, but you draw salary
Yeah, I draw salary because I also want to qualify for some of the salary credit criteria or high interest savings account, which is out of topic.
Okay, no, but one question though is that you draw a salary, right? So in Singapore, as an employee, there are certain benefits. So the employer has to pay you the employer contribution for the CPF. So do you do that as well?
Yeah, it's the law. You have to do it. And because I already believe in the CPF, so I have no problem with employer paying my CPF. So I'm like paying myself CPF.
So what you're effectively doing here, correct me if I'm wrong, what you're effectively doing here, right, is you're drawing a salary, but a large chunk of this money actually goes into CPF at 37%, if I'm not wrong. Correct, right?
20% yourself, 17% company, total 37%.
Wow, so that means if you, I just use $1,000 for easy example. So if you pay yourself $1,000 every month, $370 goes into your CPF.
Yes.
Wow.
And not just that, if you yourself are affiliated or registered and under any donation charitable organization, they also have to pay. SINDA, the CDEC. And then there is also Skills Future where employers have to pay as well to subsidize the Skills Future program. Do you know your employers have to pay this? As an employer there, I know it's compulsory to pay.
So it's actually quite a lot of stuff to consider. But of course, everybody has a different way of structuring how they are paid in their company and whether you are a big believer in CPF or not. You're obviously a big believer in CPF. If you are somebody that is starting a company and you have no idea where to begin, what is step 1, what is step 2, and you don't know which service provider to go to register your COPSEC, your address and everything, Chris provides a fantastic service that he does consultation, right? And it's very easy. You can click on the link and then
just make a purchase. It's a one-to-one call with me. I am not the platform. Okay, I need to stress again. I will guide you to the platform that I use. I will step by step teach you how to do it because I myself walk through these steps. So proprietor, private limited, everything I know the in and out already. Okay, even some accounting thing I also can slightly advise, but not financial advice. But you can look for me lah. You can click the link in the description if you want.
About a year plus ago, I also did a consultation with Chris just for a second opinion, even though I think I know what I'm doing lah. But I think it always helps to have a second opinion from somebody who has gone through everything because there is really a gazillion documents to read and to go through. And sometimes being an entrepreneur, you just have so many things. You miss out certain things. So always good to have second opinion, even though someone like me who has run businesses for a while, I also did a consultation with Chris just to make sure that I am correct, right? Because it's important to be correct.
少走弯路啦. You may not be on the perfect path, but you don't want to be on the wrong path.
Correct.
And losing some of your hard-earned cash to, tax expense because you didn't do the correct company structure and accounting.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us today, and head over to Chris's channel to check out some of his finance videos. He's the finance expert, I'm not, and do a consultation with him if that's something that you're interested in. And we'll see you next time. Peace!